Welcome to The Explainer. We've got a crazy one today because July 9th, 2026 is officially going down in history as one of the most explosive single days in artificial intelligence. We are talking about an absolute heavyweight showdown. On the exact same Thursday, two of the biggest titans in the entire industry, Meta and OpenAI, dropped massive ecosystem-shifting updates. We saw aggressively slashed pricing, expanding context windows, completely new model families, and honestly, some serious corporate drama to top it all off. It is a lot to unpack, but we've curated all the noise into a clear, fast-paced journey so we can make sense of exactly where the AI coding war stands today.
Okay, let's dive into this, starting with a massive signal that something major was happening. Mark Zuckerberg broke a 3-year silence on X to post this exact quote, "A strong agentic encoding model at a very low price." Now think about that for a second. 3 years of absolute silence broken just to announce a developer update. That alone tells you how critically important Meta views this release. They aren't just putting out another model, they are aggressively coming for the developer ecosystem.
Section 1. Muse Spark 1.1 launches. Remember 3 months ago when the original Muse Spark launched? It was a huge deal, but it was missing a public API. Developers were basically left waiting. Well, 1.1 is that missing piece. Underneath this new Meta Model API is a deeply restructured engine designed specifically for agentic coding. And to really grasp how aggressive Meta is being here, we need to look at 3 key numbers. Here's the first one, 1 million. That is the massive new actively managed context window. It jumped all the way from 262K. But wait, it's not just a passive bucket where it forgets things as you fill it up. Meta actually added an active management layer. This means the model summarizes earlier steps, retrieves information from way back in a session, and compacts its memory to preserve exactly what it needs for later. So if you're doing long, multi-step code migrations or extended debugging sessions, this active memory is a total game changer.
Let's move to our second number and see how this builds on the last one. $1.25. That is the input price per million tokens. This pricing strategy is incredibly aggressive. It lands Muse Spark 1.1 firmly in Claude Haiku 4.5 territory. But when you combine that dirt cheap price with the actively managed million token context we just talked about, it completely changes the math. You can now run sustained agentic coding sessions inside a single context window instead of constantly chunking data and reprompting.
And here's the third massive number, 68.3. You see, coding is arguably the original Muse Spark's weakest area. It scored just 58.8 on Meta's internal coding bench. But this new 1.1 version leaps all the way up to a 68.3 on that exact same benchmark. To put that into perspective for you, that puts it ahead of GPT 5.5 at 67.1 and just barely trailing Opus 4.8's max score of 69.0. Meta is literally proving this model can handle real-world tasks in massive, complex codebases.
For the developers watching right now, you're definitely going to want to screenshot this data. This is the complete package. Beyond the crazy price-to-context ratio, this OpenAI-compatible API comes fully loaded. We're talking parallel tool calling, built-in structured output, and full multimodal support. Text, image, video, PDF, the whole shebang. Plus, it handles MCP servers, meaning it easily connects directly to your local file systems and tools. And it features zero-shot generalization. That means it understands how to use custom skills right out of the box. No extra fine-tuning required for new integrations. It is serious agentic architecture.
So, the crucial point is how this actually behaves in practice, right? Muse Spark 1.1 acts as both the orchestrator and a subagent. It gathers context, builds a plan, and then delegates to parallel subagents to cut down on latency. And its computer use architecture is just fascinating. It dynamically chooses whether it's faster to write an automation script or just directly navigate the user interface itself. Meta showed this wild example of it placing a dinner order across multiple apps, adapting mid-task when new context arrived, all without the user lifting a finger. It only escalates to you when it truly hits a hard constraint.
And honestly, the industry validation has been immediate. Just look at this quote from Replit CEO Amjad Masad, calling it a complete agentic foundation. And it's not just Replit. Saud Rizwan from Klein praised the strong tool use at a highly viable price point. And massive enterprise platforms like Box are already calling it competitive with today's absolute best frontier models. Meta didn't just target one niche here. They secured buy-in across consumer coding tools, enterprise platforms, and open agent frameworks right out of the gate.
Section 2. OpenAI drops GPT 5.6.
So if Meta thought they were going to own the news cycle on July 9th, OpenAI had other plans. On that exact same Thursday, they abruptly retired their Atlas browser, merged Codex into their desktop app, rolled out a brand new ChatGPT work agent, and dropped an entirely new model family, GPT 5.6. It is broken down into 3 distinct tiers: Luna, Terra, and their massive new flagship, Sol. And Sol is not messing around. Early benchmarks from OpenAI show Sol already outperforming Anthropic's Claude Fable on both the agent's last exam and the Artificial Analysis Coding Agent Index.
And this brilliantly illustrates the massive debate happening among top-tier developers right now. We have a completely divided camp. Take Mitchell Hashimoto, creator of GhostJusty. He prefers Sol, noting it's faster, plans just as well as Fable, and just produces better overall work. But on the flip side, Katie Parrott from Every says Sol is incredibly resourceful and persistent to collaborate with, but when it comes to handing off a complete assignment and walking away, she still reaches for Fable.
Wharton professor Ethan Mollick summarized the new state of the art perfectly with this quote. He points out that regardless of your personal preference between Sol and Fable, both represent huge jumps over previous models. They have opened a wide gap against the rest of the competition. So what does this all mean? Well, while Meta is causing massive disruption on price and context windows, OpenAI and Anthropic are still fiercely battling it out in a 2-horse race for the absolute peak intelligence crown.
Section 3. The Microsoft Situationship. Now, earlier in the week, Bloomberg reported that Microsoft was trying to cut costs by replacing OpenAI's software with their own in-house AI models. Whispers of a big corporate breakup were literally everywhere. So OpenAI used the 5.6 launch to address this head-on. They announced they are officially the preferred model powering Microsoft 365 Copilot across Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and CoWork. Obviously, this was a clear PR move to quiet the breakup chatter. But as tech journalists quickly pointed out, being a preferred model doesn't actually negate the reports that Microsoft is still aggressively exploring its internal AI models to cut costs. So yeah, the situationship continues.
Section 4. OpenAI's executive exodus. Now, as brilliant as the 5.6 launch was on a technical level, it happened against the backdrop of some really severe internal turbulence. Right in the middle of the launch, Fidji Simo, OpenAI's #2 executive and CEO of apps, announced she was stepping down due to a worsening chronic health condition. And what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer volume of brain drain going on here. She joins a massive wave of 2026 departures, including their chief futurist, VP of research, head of enterprise sales, and several others. It's a really stark contrast, right? Peak technical triumph happening right alongside significant leadership instability. Which leaves us right here. Meta is aggressively slashing prices, pushing massive active context windows, and releasing highly capable public APIs. Meanwhile, OpenAI is dealing with a major executive exodus, yet somehow still managing to ship models that define the absolute bleeding edge of peak intelligence. The landscape of software development is shifting beneath our feet faster than ever before. So I leave you with this. Based on everything we've unpacked today, who do you think is actually going to win the 2026 AI coding war? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.